Welcome back to the BCMA podcast. It's your boy Lucky from Lucky's Muay Thai. This is episode number 21 of the Black Clover Martial Arts podcast. If you like the show, make sure you elbow that subscribe button, teep the like. Yeah, I'm about to put out some t-shirts, some teep the like t-shirts. Drop a comment below. Just hit me up, man. If you want to check out the gym, you know the deal. You can go to www.luckysmt.com and check the gym out. We're still doing small classes, but they're filling up now, and we've added more hours, and we still have to add more hours because it's starting to become overwhelmingly full, which is a great thing. Like I said, smaller classes, so when I say full, I mean, you know, the 6 or 8 people we might have in class, that's it, and the slots are starting to fill up quite frequently. So that being said, I ordered the Michael Chiavello book, Good Night, Irene. I'm hoping to read that and then have him on as a guest. I'm just saying, you never know. Did you see Teofimo Lopez versus Vasily Lomachenko? So let me just say this. I'm going to get through this pretty quick because I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I have a really good guest on. So everybody knows what Vasily Lomachenko does, the Matrix, the whole thing. Teofimo's 23, and he's a budding star, right? People that know. People that don't just don't know, right? So this fight was on ESPN, maybe. What was different to me was that Loma seemed different, right? So he's usually very, very to himself. Teo either got him to switch it up by just pressing with the shit talking, or Loma felt like he needed to, I don't know. He wasn't doing a lot of talking, but at the stare down, he got right up in Teofimo's face, which he normally does not do this kind of thing. So if you asked me, it reminded me of the Silva-Weidman fight where when Silva got in Weidman's face, they were almost kissing because Weidman wasn't backing down and he wasn't afraid of the shine of Anderson Silva, right? He didn't have that fear. And I feel like that's what happened. I feel like Teofimo Lopez did not have that fear that people have with Loma. And I think a lot of times that's what it takes, right? People have a fear of what's in front of them, that fighter, and then they wilter in front of them. And other fighters along the way that are also great, maybe in that situation, just decide that they're not going to wilt, right? They're going to stand in the face of the fire, so to speak. And that was the other thing, right? The scoring was a little, there was one score that was a little bit wacky, like super wacky, but I had Teofimo Lopez winning the fight. I did not think that Loma was going to be able to handle the size and power. What I was not aware of, unfortunately, because usually I pay really close attention to these things, was to the level of Teofimo's ring IQ. It wasn't as if I didn't think he could box at a high level, but for those out there that are Teofimo fans that like to see him knock guys out, and he's doing that, I think you just saw a new layer, right? You saw something that you didn't know that he had, which was to be able to box with one of the most elite boxers of all time, and to do it in a way that it made that boxer look normal, right? There were moments of Vasily in the later rounds where he turned up a little bit and some things happened. And then Teofimo would throw off of that. He didn't. He hesitated to throw. And he has such speed and such snap on his punches that Vasily had to respect it. There was no way he could take the thing he normally does, which was working these 3-punch combinations, skipping around to the outside, skipping right back around. There was no continuance. It wasn't going to happen repeatedly where he's going to be able to use footwork to get around the corners against Teofimo. So what you saw was a bigger, more athletic, with a super high boxing IQ, Teofimo Lopez, box Vasily Lomachenko the way that you need to box him to win, and not everybody can do that. In fact, almost nobody could. So the final part of this was what happens in the 12th round, because there was a couple of rounds that were toss-ups. I had Teofimo ahead. I think some people have Vasily, tied. So maybe there is a situation where it could be a draw. And I kind of was like, they might try to call this a draw. But in reality, Teofimos didn't allow it to happen. Teofimo Lopez fought the 12th round like it was first, second, third round. He brought intensity. He made sure the judges knew that he was there to win the fight. There was no question, because if you're going to take all the belts from one person to add to your one belt, right, then I think the judges need to see that you are going to close the show. And he did just that. So shout out to Teofimo Lopez for beating the Matrix Loma, who is still one of the greatest. Don't be no chump calling him names and whatnot. He did his thing, but it just wasn't enough. He started too late. There was a bigger guy that was young, athletic, hungry, and with the skill set that was perfect for beating him. So, give Loma credit. He was there till the end, but, the reality is he took some heavy shots that caused him to stay honest, man. You can't spend a lot of time too close, because even if you hit, it's not enough to do enough damage to stop Teofimo Lopez from throwing back at you, and he could connect and the night will be over. So that was a great fight. I loved it. Shout out to Brian Ortega, who looked fantastic against Korean Zombie. My guest, Monique Jackson, who I'm going to talk about just in a second, she chose Brian Ortega, and in her interview, she says exactly what I thought, because he's a babe. Anyway, I don't know what she thought. I meant to ask her about the bald head, what she thought about that. All right, on today's show, I have my friend from the UK, my homie Monique Jackson. Monique is a Muay Thai practitioner, and I noticed a while back that she had gotten COVID. She had started doing the Corona Diaries after that, which was these drawings of how she was feeling and, these different symptoms that were lasting sort of longer than everybody else's. And much like my doctor friend Amir on that episode where he spoke about somebody that got sick and now their lungs, are scarred forever, that's something that person's going to deal with. She's had ongoing symptoms, her and her friend that she also got sick with her at the same time. So I thought, it's pretty crazy that everybody's talking about, how, it's, you can survive it. The president obviously, I survived it. Look at me. And then there's people, my family had somebody that passed away, and it's become so politicized back and forth that, I think people are missing out that there's a group of people that have gotten sick and have ongoing symptoms, and nobody's talked about therapies, anything for those people. And in fact, most people aren't even aware that there are people that are walking around that are continuing to have symptoms. I know when I was interviewed on for a friend of mine that is in Italy right now, and she's had COVID for a month, and her symptoms aren't there, but she's tested positive throughout the month. This is my homie from the UK, as I said, and she's been dealing with COVID, I think, for 7 months now. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this conversation. Obviously, I don't want to be harping on COVID all the time, but it's super important that you guys know that we need to treat this with a little more empathy and understand that it's not black and white. There are many spectrums to this illness. And like I said, I hope you enjoy. Make sure you go follow Corona Diaries. And without further ado, my conversation with Monique Jackson. Pay attention. You might learn something. Welcome back to the BCMA podcast. This is episode 21. I have my friend, my homie from the UK, fellow Muay Thai practitioner, Monique Jackson. And before we get started, I just want to give a little bit of backstory. I started following her on Instagram because she was doing Muay Thai, and I follow a ton of people that do so. And I started to notice as the pandemic started that she was posting information about being sick with COVID. So I was like, oh, this is, kind of effed up or whatever. And then along the way, I thought I saw a picture where she was doing better. So I said, hey, glad you're doing better, something to that effect. And she was like, I'm not doing better. And I was like, wait a minute, this sounds a little bit wild. So anyway, I decided to have you on the show because I think that, as I was talking to you before we started, there's a spectrum of people that are being left out of the conversation. And that is people that have gotten coronavirus and then they've continued to have symptoms along the way. Anyway, welcome to the show, Monique Jackson.
Hey,
Hey,
hello. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing?
Well, thanks so much for your introduction. To answer your question, today is the symptoms since waking up today have been kind of bearable. They're manageable. But I'm not. I'm not back to normal. I don't know if I ever will be. This is my new normal at the moment. A lot of chest pain and heart palpitation issues. So, but
How
grateful to be
long
alive, of course.
how long has this been going on now?
Since March the 14th, 15th this year. So over 7 months. Um, and it's been like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. Some issues I've had, I feel like they've gone. Some things have never left me, and some things come and go all the time. So it's difficult.
Wow. So what are the doctors saying? Like, what are they trying to do? And
Well, it's, luckily in the UK, there's a national health service. So there is this baseline of free healthcare for everyone, all citizens. So that's awesome. But within that, this is obviously a new virus. And because of it taking over the world as it has, it's been really difficult. So where I'm at the moment is like a lot of the like I couldn't get tested at the beginning because there weren't enough tests in March. So they were
right,
sending I was in A&E for breathing issues and they told me to go home because they didn't have any tests. But I've had an X-ray and it was clear. My bloods were pretty much clear apart from my platelets like dipped and then they went back to normal. But the main thing is they put a heart monitor on me and they noticed some like irregularities with the apparently the electronic functioning of the heart.
right.
It's irregular, which I know you could have an irregular heartbeat beforehand, but they said that at night it goes very low and like it seems to oscillate between going really low and really high. So I get breathlessness and fatigue and a load of other things.
Wow. So what have you been doing to like mitigate it yourself? I mean, I think right, you did Corona Diaries, and I'm sure that helped,
Yeah.
psychologically, and I'm sure it helped obviously a lot of other people. I mean, I know you said it blew up, and I noticed it right away, and I looked and I was like, wow, this is big. So what else have you been able to do anything physical?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my recovery has not been linear, like i.e. it's not just been me getting better and that's it. Like I had a relapse in the middle of the summer, which sucked because like the first month it was my mate who got ill with me calls it the COVID coaster, where you think, it was the beginning, we had all the flu, sweating,
Right, right,
shivering, loss of appetite, insomnia, the whole 9 yards, breathing issues, and then it seemed to get better. And then a month in, it was like, bam, I had gastro issues, and I like lost loads of weight because I couldn't eat loads of things. I had to go on medication for that. So in this time, I went from, my pedometer went from like 25,000 was my last well day of steps,
right.
and then it dipped to like under 1,000 that week, and like on average, and then it started to build back up, and my breathing got better, and then I hoovered my room and had some kind of, I think, a reaction to the dust, and then I was like 4 days in bed, um, and then
Oh man.
so then it got reset. So now I can go for about half an hour to 40-minute walk a day, and I don't really want to push it more than that. And
Right.
I can like sort of I go up the stairs and like I can do that. I get out of breath from anything like intensive as walking up the stairs, which
Right.
in the past wasn't an issue. So
Wow. That's why,
yeah,
and it's interesting about the roller coaster and over that period of time, because I think a lot of the stuff, at least that I was reading and hearing, was that people would feel bad in the first week and then feel good, sort of going into the second week, like they had sort of beat it and then immediately hit this wall. And so that sort of happened to you over a longer period of time. Wow,
yeah. Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So tell me about Corona Diaries now. That So what was how did that all start? I mean, did you just start drawing and then?
Yeah, so basically I relapsed in July, as I said, and I was in bed like, because I'm so fidgety, and in my job I would be like, I work at an art gallery, but I'm like painting, like I kind of look after the building, I'm running around all the time, I'm a bit of a
Right.
tomboy, you could say, like, and I do, a lot of cycling and gym, martial arts and stuff. Like, it was the first time in the illness that I was in bed and I was like like, and that's when I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get an iPad and I'm gonna draw, because I went to art school, and I was like, I knew that my friend said that from drawing on an iPad was quite fun. So I thought, I'm just going to sort of have a draw and see if I can entertain myself. And I ended up just drawing me and my surroundings, these goofy drawings, because uh like, just I couldn't get the hang of drawing because of the pencil.
Oh, the
Like,
way
it
the
was all
pen is,
new.
yeah.
Yeah,
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 my
yeah.
girlfriend's got one and she's, trying to figure it all out as well. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think it will just click with her. It probably has already, where you just start to pick up a way of doing things,
Right.
and then you start to become more and more sophisticated. So I was kind of laughing at myself, like drawing these drawings of me looking quite pathetic and stuff. So I thought, I'm going to post these and see online if anyone else can relate to this madness. But
Right.
so it was a bit of an experiment, and then so my friends and some colleagues started following it, and then I started to get some randoms, and then the randoms turned into like a lot of people,
Yeah.
very slowly. Because one of the things that different about doing a, like, almost like a live comic, is that when you draw in a sketchbook, you don't have the page talk back to you, whereas when you're posting things online, the page talks back. People say,
Right.
oh, this has happened to me, and people start DMing me, and then I broke the fourth wall, and I actually started drawing people and tagging them in the drawings, and then they started to message me back.
No, it's
So
crazy.
yeah, it's like, it's wild. So you wouldn't get check this yet. So I like mushroom culture, love Joe Rogan and Paul
Right. Yeah.
Stamets. So I watched the film Fantastic Fungi, and then I tagged all of like the people in the questions and answers, that were in the live stream during lockdown. And one of the this Chilean mycologist wrote back to me, and she was like, oh, do you want to do a live talk with me? And I was like, yes. So then
What?
Juliana, yeah, so then we live streamed on her like NGO foundation, and then she stayed in touch with me, and she still messages me, and I'm just like, wow, the internet is crazy, like,
Crazy. Yeah, man. For real.
crazy.
For real.
Can you
That's
imagine this
amazing.
before? Like, when I went to university, the internet was not being used as it is now. So it's just like dream come true, isn't
I mean, I'm 48, so
it?
yeah, I know it's kind of nuts, but I love it. It's great. It's because I get a chance to talk to people like you and connect and like
Exactly.
just get on get in these conversations that are, I don't know, more human than the screaming conversations that are being had in other places. So, all right. So before all this happened, you were practicing Muay Thai pretty regularly, and were you doing MMA as well?
Yeah. So yeah, Muay Thai was like my first martial arts that I discovered quite late, that I fell in love with, and I would do that in this London gym in Bethnal Green called KO. And I went there for a few years, but then unfortunately my job meant that the hours, I couldn't quite cycle back in time. I kept being late, and I didn't want to keep being that guy that was late to
Right, late every
the
time.
lessons. So I switched up to
Yo, if my students are watching, you know how I feel about that guy.
do
Yeah.
they get loads of press ups?
Oh, they get loads of everything. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't like that. Yeah,
Exactly. Okay, cool. So you understand. So
yeah.
I had to, like, I switched up to another great gym called Fight Zone, and then I tried like MMA. Like, to be honest, it was more Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, no gi,
Okay.
and like boxing classes, and yeah, actually at KO, I did some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Claudio Silva, who was just in
Oh
fight
yeah,
fight Island.
yeah.
Sadly, he lost his fight, but yeah, this last weekend. So
So what were you planning on? I know you had some inter-club fights and all this stuff. Were you
yeah.
planning on like pursuing this? Are you planning? What am I saying? When this is all over, are you planning to continue pursuing your martial arts? And I mean, maybe doing the thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, okay. So before all of this madness from
Also,
this
hold up
year,
before you answer that question.
yeah, yeah,
I know you can't tell because she's sitting down, but she's 6 feet tall. Am
yeah.
I right? Am I right?
That's right. I'm a giant. I am a
Yeah,
giant. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Like that's
That's
a
a
really good
problem.
point. That's right. It's like been an asset for doing striking is my reach is, and I always loved that when I spar is that I'd often, because of my height, I'd be paired up with guys and they would like underestimate my reach. So
Yes.
yeah, jabbing teeps, it's
Yeah,
quite
I have a
quite
long
fun.
reach as well. Yeah, it's the
You do,
best.
yeah,
Yeah.
sweet.
That's awesome. So I mean,
Yeah.
listen. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. I interrupted you, but what was the plan? What's the
Oh
plan?
yeah. So the plan. Well, I was doing some interclubs, but then like I started that gave me the discipline, which fed back into my career. So I feel like I was starting to get promotions and things because I had this new drive that came from martial arts, and but then I did prioritize my career just to get a bit of London's an expensive city, and I just
Yeah.
wanted to get a firmer footing on some basics like dental work and things like that. So, because I actually like broke a tooth from sparring, so
Oh yeah.
I kind of, yeah, I'm sure you're aware of
Yeah.
some injuries that
Yes.
can happen. So
Yeah.
that was
A bunch.
expensive. Yeah. So sadly, it became more of like a love. Like I wasn't competing, and I was like, okay, if I'm working, I'm not competing. I want to learn. I want to broaden my practice and just learn. Some. So I was learning. Yeah, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I didn't buy the gi, so I was learning no gi, doing it back to
Right.
front. But I was intending to buy a gi and do it properly, and just sort of having fun. I was intending to do some capoeira this year as well. So,
Oh yeah. All right.
um, but then plans in 2020 weren't exactly compatible.
No, this is not. This is. It's major. Don't get me wrong, but you'll be back and you'll be doing your thing, and I will be 100% in support. Um, Please tell everybody where you can be found right now.
Online.
Yeah, where can they find you?
Okay, Instagram at _ Corona Diary.
Word. All right, look, I want you to get well soon because
Thank
I
you.
want to see more pictures, more video. I want to see you in fights. I want to see you doing your thing, and I'm
Yes.
super stoked about Corona Diaries because I appreciate that you took the opportunity to do something with what was affecting you, as opposed to, I mean, look, if you just have some people just have to deal with it and they just deal with it, and other people take the opportunity to spread the word and try to be a leader for those people that don't have the voice. So I can appreciate that, and I appreciate you coming on this little show of mine. Maybe one day I'll make it over there, or you'll make it over here, and I'll get to hold some
Yes.
pads for the future champ, or
Wow.
try to defend a rear naked choke, something like
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in
That'd be
totally.
great.
Yeah, I
I
would love
mean,
that.
thanks so much for having me on your show. I mean, like, I'm definitely going to listen to some of the back catalogs because I don't think there's enough podcasts on the beautiful eight limb science of Muay Thai. And
Yeah.
I went to Thailand, for a little Koh Samui camp for 2 weeks, which was good fun. And I can talk people to tears about Muay Thai and
Same.
MMA. So if you want to talk again about anything,
Oh,
I'm not an
dude.
expert. I'm not an expert, but the passion is there. And particularly I'm interested in, what it's like for you. I would love to know how you faced the pandemic actually. Like that's something that I haven't.
Uh, all right. How did I face it? As a martial arts instructor, like in what way? Because there's so many ways that I dealt with it. As a
I guess,
father, like as a
yeah, that's
business
true.
owner, as an instructor, as a coach, as like just a lot of
I,
different ways.
I guess is in like kind of adapting, like, so because I'm always interested in talking to people about how they've adapted and how they've changed their behaviors to kind of accept that this isn't going away. So I was just wondering if there was any things that come to the front of your mind.
Um, I think just trying to, like I said before, just be empathetic to what other people feel like. Like I can't tell. I'm not. If people are into quote conspiracy theories, I can't tell you like, you suck for that. Like I don't believe what you believe, but I'm not gonna, you know, go tearing you down because of maybe misinformation or and partially because I think there was such an anxiety at the beginning, such an anxiety. I tell people this all the time. I ask people, do you remember when this first started? And you felt like you were going to open your front door and peep out and see Corona walking around, right?
Yeah,
Or see something happening, right? You were looking out the windows, opening the door, calling friends, or you didn't know what was going to happen, and everybody around me felt that anxiety. I didn't speak too much about how I felt because I just had, my child, I just was trying to figure out my business. I had a friend of mine tell me, make sure you're looking beyond the virus, right? Interesting thing to say. But for me at that moment, it made sense because I was like, I can't get stuck. I started to see people going back and forth, and this person's right and that person's wrong, and this person's doing that and that person. And I was like, yo,
yeah,
I can't do that. And then I felt that feeling in my chest, just that anxiety that I was like, this is anxiety. Here's a funny, it's not funny, but here's an interesting thing. So people that know me know that I suffer from anxiety and depression off and on. I've handled it very well over the last couple of years, but sort of very well. But when I started to feel that, I knew what it was, right?
okay,
Well, what I noticed was that there are a lot of people that have either not gone through things in their lives or never felt that to that extent. And they were calling their doctors, going to doctor visits, going because they thought they had the virus, right? But what they really had was just this terrible anxiety. And I recognized it right away. I knew, I could see, I talked to people around me. I knew that that's what it was for the most part. None of the people that were close to me that I talked to in that circle were sick. None of them. And it was just this terrible feeling. So I knew, like, I know that I want people to be empathetic to me when I'm feeling blue or, not right that day or whatever the situation is. So I feel like I have to be that way for other people, and try to be as
mm-hmm.
knowledgeable as I can and try to have honest conversations, like if it's going to be a conversation that doesn't allow anybody to grow, then I kind of try not to have them. I don't want to.
Yeah,
It's not an argument. Like, you know, I'm pretty intelligent, I guess. I read a lot, and I listen to the people that are actually on the front lines of dealing with things, and I kind of make I kind of deal with things in that way, right? I put
yeah,
those things in the forefront. So if people are having these, well, look at this person on the internet, look at that person, and this person, and that person's a liar, and I can't do that because I have a child to take care of. She's got to look up
yeah,
to me. I have a business to run. At some point, I need to stay focused on what I'm going to do and how it's going to work. Like for me, it was all I think about empathy and gratitude for the people that helped me out during the time I needed it. And then trying to reach out to people. There's a lot of people that I've trained over the years. So I feel bad that I don't hit everybody all the time, but I try to hit people randomly. Hey man, hope you're doing well. Hey, how you doing? Whatever. But yeah, I hope that answered your question. I always go off on
yeah.
these
It
tangents.
no. It hits off a lot of things because I would actually say the fighting or at least doing martial arts, that mindset has helped me be a survivor. And how it's helped me is because what you were saying about talking to people in the front line, getting, not just like when you get sick with this, if you've been sick like me, unfortunately, because this is a new disease, there is not a pathway of care. Even if we lived in an ideal world, there's not like
Right.
okay, take this medication. A lot of people
Right.
have messaged me, you should be taking X, Y, and Z. But the reality is they have come up with a combination of drugs. Some of those might not be available in some countries, and some of them are still have a question mark about long term whether they actually do much. So,
Right.
for me, it's about getting documentation of my body, and I've managed to get myself onto independent research for MRI, so I'll be able
Oh,
to get
wow.
scans. Yeah,
Nice.
that did not come off me sitting on my hands and being quiet. That
So
came
true.
off of educating myself. I have tried to work with doctors as much as possible, but I'd be a liar if I said that was a smooth process. Unfortunately, you don't have one doctor that you stick with.
Right.
At least in London, if you're lucky, when you get to speak to a doctor, every time it's a different medical person, most of the time. And if you're like me, you've had to move home because of your illness, like then you would have switched,
Right.
medical
Switch. Yeah.
practice. So you're fighting all the time. You've got to make sure that when you call that doctor and you've only got 10 minutes to speak to them and you've had over 30 symptoms, that you have, preparation, a strategy. If it was the ring, it'd be a strategy,
Right.
where you're like, okay, this, and this, I want to prioritize this. They say, sometimes they want to listen to you. Sometimes they suggest, have you got a mental health issue? Sometimes it is a mental health issue, but sometimes it's also, physical issues as well.
Right.
So there's a lot, what people say to me, do you think your stress is causing your symptoms? I say, no doubt, stress is an inflammatory response in the body. Like, yeah, of
Yeah,
course,
for
some of this
sure.
is stress, but also some of these things, from talking and educating myself, reaching out to different people, I know that it's not unique to me. It is
No, I mean,
unfortunately, to do with COVID. So yeah,
I just,
it's
my
about,
doctor friend
yeah,
that was on was talking about, the patient that was, young, healthy, and now his lungs are jacked,
yeah,
forever.
yeah,
Like that, he's not coming back from this situation. So
yeah,
I couldn't,
that's
I,
right. The thing
I,
is as well, is like you said, is that for someone to, it affects everyone in so many different ways. um when I got it, it was thought of as a respiratory illness, so that the lungs, were the
right,
primary things to get damaged. Now they know that
the
it's
heart.
multiple organs. Yeah, the
Yeah.
heart, along with, there's sign potentially of kidneys, liver, brain damage.
Yeah.
So the work that I make for Corona Diary is content for and from people sick from COVID-19. So when I was sick, I was like, yeah, I get it. I might not be in a good way, but where's the content from the perspective of, okay, shit's hit the fan. Now what do I do? So I'm kind of trying to create content where it's like, okay, we're sick, we need a plan B. What's the plan B? So
Right.
like, going into survivor mode and just being like, okay, so CBD oil has been massive for me. Like it's helped
Okay.
me battle through insomnia. Like, just small things like listening to music, trying to get people to call you, like making sure you get up and walk around, even if your body doesn't feel like it.
Right.
Everything is specific to individual bodies, but there are small ways that particularly people who are ill from chronic illness can give tips on how to, diet, nutrition. Those are big things that can help people who are ill from COVID. um, for me, I'm on a low histamine diet. I know that has helped my gastric issues. So that, there are options. It's not just a case of you either get it and your life's over.
Right.
There is an in between, and I think that needs to be included in the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Wow, man. I'm so I'm super happy to have you on, and this has been a really good conversation. I'm glad that I was able to have you on to shed some light. And I know there's people probably here in the U.S. that are going through very similar situations that aren't being heard. I haven't seen anything like what you're doing here. I'm not saying that it isn't around. Maybe I just haven't come across it. But I'm grateful for you for what you do, and I'm glad to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Sorry for going into preacher mode there.
real quick. No, it's all good. Real quick. Tell me, I had Zombie in this fight, and you were right. You're right. All right,
I forgot. Yeah, my man. Well, Brian Ortega's a babe, so like
I was like, she probably thinks he's a babe. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. But I remember. Okay, so he got schooled by Holloway. I think kudos to Holloway for his. Holloway's really was great at his striking and against Ortega. I think that it's clear that Ortega's gone away and done his homework and he's come back. I mean, that spinning elbow.
He looked fantastic.
That spinning elbow
looked fantastic. Yeah, Zombie was like, I don't even know anything. I don't remember anything after that. So
he did.
Yeah, it was good.
I think he was mentally defeated after that, and then
for sure.
Yeah, Ortega did some really quite cool little his striking game was like really great. Yeah. So. All
right, good call. You got that one.
Yeah. No, it's great talking to you.
We're gonna do it again soon, and we'll talk whatever you want. We'll talk MMA. We'll talk Muay Thai. Yes. We'll talk whatever. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Have a good one. Thanks so much.
Monique Jackson, Corona Diaries. Go check it out on Instagram if you haven't yet. It is super important. Much love.
Okay. Much love. Take care. Bye.
Peace. That was my conversation with Monique Jackson. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you like the show, make sure you hit the subscribe button, share button, like button, all that stuff. Tell your friends about it. We have some super guests coming up. I'm about to have my boy Gene Harding coming up soon. We're going to talk about comedy and the martial arts. So, again, if you dig this show, make sure you subscribe. Tell your friends about it. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at the gym, catching you online. Drop me a comment at Lucky's Muay Thai or drop me a comment below. I love y'all. You know the deal. Peace. By the way, because I had that UK guest on, I had my Stormzy on. You know what I mean? Had to get my Stormzy on. About the Vasi Bop. All right, I love y'all. I'm out. Peace, y'all. Don't want a complication.